How we doing? Soggy. We can sell you for so much money. That's quite a few monkeys right there. What? There is no floor there. Holy crap. That was a long time. I'm back. I've not made any YouTube content since in the last 6 months that I've been living in Japan. Sorry, by the way. I'll get into why in a second. If there's one thing that I can tell you, it's that Japan is a country of polar opposites. And my stay, at least compared to the Netherlands, has been kind of wild sometimes. There is a lot to talk about, so strap yourselves in, grab a snack, grab something to drink, and let's get into it. Biggest things that I've learned from my stay in Japan. Boom. Nailed it. Fucking Peter in Japan. I left the Netherlands excited and not really fully realizing what I was getting myself into. And my life changed a lot in the first 2 months. The first few moments that I arrived, everything was completely alien. Since I was in a rural area of Japan, nobody spoke English. Thank the Lord that I tried to learn as much Japanese as possible before I got there, because otherwise I would have been fucked. I didn't like it at the time that I had to speak Japanese all the time. It did force me to get way better into Japanese, and it was also an incredible reality check that you can learn a lot and feel like you've learned a lot back home, but that does not mean that you have any kind of practical ability when you're actually there. There also weren't very many foreigners in my university, for example, but as a consequence, the bonds that I created with the foreigners that were there were just the more powerful, really, because we were all in the same boat. So we were all dealing with the same type of thing. And that honestly really is bonding on steroids. Like, in general, just going on exchange in this way, I'm 100% fully convinced that it cannot go wrong, honestly. My university was also absolutely amazing. One thing that really stood out to me is the care that the teachers put into their work. And sometimes they might do the wrong thing, but you can be damn sure they'll do it with full conviction and dedication. Like, genuinely, props to my university in Japan. A 10 out of 10 experience. Absolutely. Yeah, knocked it out of the park. My room was amazing, and also the facilities that were there were all really good. So my university was just really good, and I really enjoyed it there. I hate to be the one to break it to you, but if you have either N5, N4, or N3, that does not mean you have enough to deal with things in Japanese society. I had a lot of friends that were way better at speaking Japanese than I was, and they also struggled daily with very mundane things. I'm currently level N3, and I am not confident at all that I can function with everything in society there. Up until now, I could manage with most things, but there's a difference between being able to do something and sort of managing. When I needed to figure out how to buy train tickets, because I didn't know how the machines worked, and I had to go up to the ticket machine 3 times, and I didn't understand why it was not accepting my money. And eventually the issue was that I had a bill that was too new. And even though the machines also have English, because, you know, I am completely sleep deprived and I couldn't see where the hell the English button was, I just kept trying to do it in Japanese, and it kept declining my bills, and I was like, why won't it accept my money? And there were like a bunch of Japanese school guys and girls off to the side laughing at the baka gaijin trying to figure out the fucking ticket machine. Oh my god. Once you figure it out, it's pretty intuitive, really. I really wanted to try and integrate for whatever that means. And I've realized that in a way is kind of impossible. My Japanese level is not nearly good enough to really make friends with or have any kind of deep conversation with. And even though I can understand and follow most conversations, really having a conversation on the level that you can be genuine friends like you would be in your native language or as I'm doing in English right now, well, I just couldn't do that yet. So I was very dependent on people who could also speak English. And especially in rural Japan, that is not most people. One thing that really did help, though, was trying to join local Japanese sports clubs. I personally joined the hiking club, which was great because I could walk with a bunch of people and talk at the same time. Conversation stalls, you can just keep hiking in silence for a minute, and that's completely okay. So to me, that was the perfect balance between casual activity, but also intense enough so that you can actually do something. And I also made quite a few friends there because Japanese people are incredibly warm and welcoming and sweet, and they will try to help you with absolutely everything that you need, even if that comes a little bit at the detriment of themselves. I also definitely noticed that I was always considered the other, even if it is in a friendly way. I'm always either the nice foreigner that we have to welcome, or I'm the foreigner that you're trying to stay away from. But I will, whether it is nice or unnice, I will always be the foreigner, the other. Because it's true, in public transport, if you sit in the bus, people will stand up and walk away from you just because you sat down either next to them or behind them and want to stay away from you. On the streets, people will walk around you with a very large circle that is way more than they would for other Japanese people. And every time I walked into a store, I immediately could see the absolute horror in workers' eyes, being like, oh God, what if I need to speak English? And then when I actually start speaking Japanese to them, see the weight fall off of their shoulders. One of my Japanese friends' boss actually asked her, like, do you also talk normally with them as you do with us? And she was like, what? Of course I do. They're my friends. But sometimes this is genuinely how some Japanese people think, because we are the other. We're not like them. As I already said, it's all just kind of different sauces on the same salad. So, and at times being the other got really tiring. And it isn't like all Japanese people are like this. Of course not. I've met plenty of people who treated me just as they would any other person. But they are usually people that have been either have been on exchange themselves or have been dealing with foreigners for a very long time and know that we are not, you know, weird. But there's also kind of the crux of the problem, because I also understand in a way why Japanese people are sort of reluctant towards foreigners, because I've also seen foreigners act like absolute dickheads all of the time. For some reason, a lot of people seem to think, especially when they go to Japan, that they somehow have a free pass to do whatever they want, even stuff that wasn't even acceptable in their own countries to begin with. Why? To me, it's kind of like, at least make an attempt to try and integrate or something. In my video where I talked about leaving for Japan, I talked about how I thought that cultural differences were often exaggerated. And even though I still absolutely feel that way, I also kind of think that a lot of it is just misinterpretation because of social media. And it's not necessarily social media's fault in a way. You won't truly understand unless you've actually experienced it. When it comes to love hotels or the other weird stuff about Japan, a lot of the time it is also weird to other Japanese people. The idea that this is like, oh, this is Japan and this is normal in Japan is often way more exaggerated. Just like a lot of people think that most Dutch people have done weed or drugs of some kind, and that's also completely not true. When it comes to cultural differences, though, I have definitely Experienced a few, of which I can definitely say that they are very real. Japanese group-oriented thinking, the kind of don't rock the ship mentality. Where a Dutch person would often just say something bluntly and directly, in Japan, people usually tend to choose the less direct way. But that doesn't mean that they don't tell you you're doing something wrong. You'll just receive it in a very different way than that you're used to. This is also something that I could definitely talk more about in a different video. It feels like they prefer strict rules and punishments over more education and trying to prevent things. This is also why I couldn't make any videos in Japan, because in Japan, responsibility is shared and not always on the individual. And I'm part of a school. If I were to do something incredibly irresponsible, illegal, or whatever, even accidentally, those consequences will not only pass onto me, but also onto other people. And that didn't sit right with me. And then I want to talk about something a little bit more serious. So, hereby, a trigger warning. If you are not comfortable with certain topics, then you might want to skip to the timestamp that you see on screen now. Because I want to talk about the worst thing that I've experienced in Japan. And that's how Japanese people treat women. Statistically, Japan's wage gap is incredibly large compared to the rest of the world. There are hardly any women in politics. Women are still expected to do pretty much all of the housework, and women are objectified and sexualized pretty much everywhere you go, especially in advertising. What I've come to painfully direct contact with is young guys in Japan when they are drunk and when they go to the club. Now, granted, clubbing, especially in the area that I wasn't as popular as it is in my own country, for example. I kind of expect the people that do go clubbing to be a little bit more on the extreme side in general. We were in a group with a lot of women, and we pretty much needed to form a sort of wall around them so they wouldn't pretty much get assaulted all the time. Even if I presented myself as somebody's boyfriend or whatever, and even if they absolutely radiated that they did not like any of it, they wouldn't stop. It was incredibly explicit. And that was the biggest shock to me, how out in the open and shameless all of it was. I only had to turn around and somebody was already cornered near the toilets, or they couldn't go to a konbini safely without being escorted by one of the guys in our group. And even then, you didn't have the guarantee that they wouldn't be touched on the way, even on the streets where there is police around. It was absolutely horrible. And I will never in my life go to a club in Japan again, except for one. In Tokyo, for someone's birthday, we went to a gay club. And this was the absolute polar opposite of what my previous experience was. It was safe. I didn't have to be in constant surveillance mode, and nobody was hunting for a sexual partner. In this club, it was mainly just dancing, some spicy drag show, and God forbid, actual fun. I'm not even gay, and I thought this was a million times better than what even the regular clubs in the Netherlands are. I don't know what gay people are doing over there, but one thing is for sure, they're doing it right. Although Japan was absolutely the coolest thing I've ever done in my life. I've been river hiking with my Japanese friends. I've been through thick and thin with them. I've made a Japanese short film, organized events. We went for karaoke, I've seen beautiful shrines and nature, I've tasted amazing food, and I've met some of the most amazing people that I've ever met in my life. But even though I will for sure go back, and probably maybe even for a longer amount of time, I don't want to live in Japan anymore. I've also felt trapped sometimes. Japan is very often like, oh, don't do this, don't go there, don't do this or you'll be deported, and repeat that a million times for even the smallest things. I kind of felt micromanaged sometimes. I was in a roller coaster, and it was an incredibly cool roller coaster, but don't you dare go off the tracks. But still, I'm incredibly thankful for the insane, honestly, opportunities that I've gotten to experience and for the experiences that I've had and the confidence that I was allowed to get in myself for actually doing something, well, substantial like this. It was very hard and scary at times, but it was also one of the most rewarding experiences that I've ever had. I am incredibly thankful to everybody that has made it, well, that has made it what it is. How was your stay in Japan? Or what are you looking forward to? Or what aren't you looking forward to? What are you preparing for? Please let me know in the comments so, let's talk about it. And also, there are still a few bucket list things that I want to do with Japan, so stay tuned for that as well. I'll also be doing more than just Japan on this channel. So, enough yapping. See you next time. Bye.